Hello, hello, hello. I think I'm just going live now on Facebook. I'm trying a few things different to try to make sure it's as streamlined as possible in getting it live and doing all of things on my end by myself, which is quite different to how I've been doing it. So it's very exciting to try new things and to reach you in a new way, even though on your end it might seem like the same old way. It feels different to me. And that's what's really exciting, that you won't have a different experience, but I will, and it'll be easier for me. So I can see that we've got one person in here and I'm really excited. Feel free to ask any questions, stop me at any time, or raise your hand in Zoom. I will be checking for comments as well afterwards. And of course, this will all go into onto YouTube tomorrow. So it's very exciting. So tonight we're talking about how to finish off your homeschool year so you can start 2022 fresh. I think, as homeschoolers, we kind of, at least for people who continue on through the year, it can kind of get to a point where we need to sort of settle down a little bit. The year is slowing down, and just a time to reflect back. And sometimes we get to that point and we're like, wait, what have we actually learned this year? So it's really important for a number of reasons, to just take that time out. And I think I've got a way to help you do it in well and truly under 2 hours. I was thinking 1 hour, but then I thought, it could take a hot minute to try to find the resources. So in under 2 hours, I think you'd have enough time to be able to write everything down that you've done this year, just by following 3 super simple steps. So I've realized that there's no way for me to give you this poster after this. So I've just have it a link in my bio, in my Instagram. It's completely free. You don't have to, but I've created a poster we're going to go through tonight, to just sort of break down the steps and give you a good understanding. So if you feel like you need to have that little bit of a reminder after this, because I understand, it's only middle of November, not all of us are ready to sort of start that process just quite yet. We might just be thinking about it, but we might not be right there ready to completely close off the year. So that resource will be available to you, obviously, for free at any time. There's nothing for you to do. It's just a click in my bio, and it'll just give you the PDF document straight away. So that'll be alive after this, just to give people an opportunity to hear what I've got to say, to help you understand what it all means. And then you'll be able to take that and help yourself when the time is right for you. Okay, so let's get started. So just in case you're new here and you don't know who I am, just really quickly, my name's Jamie and I've been home educating my kids. I'll be closing off my 11th year, which is absolutely insane to think about. I know I keep saying it every time, and every time I'm like, how is that even possible? So those are 3 things, just a little bit about me. I don't want to go too long in that. There's enough information out there in the World Wide Web for you to know a little bit more about me if you would like to. Okay, so like I was saying before, we can kind of get to this point in our year where we're like, what have we actually learned? Because if we haven't been writing everything down, if we've maybe been just recording it through pictures, or maybe haphazardly, or just not, I guess, in a formal one space way. It doesn't matter which method you use to record. It's all right, as long as that's what helps you get there in at the end of the day. And some people just completely forget about it throughout the year. We all have all these intentions at the beginning of the year to, this year I will plan, or I will record, and life gets in the way mid-year and everything gets dropped. And, I'm not much different as well. But I have, over the last 11 years, really developed a system that works for myself. So, as you progress in your homeschooling year and in your homeschooling journey, you might very well find your feet in that planning and recording, so you don't get to the end of the year and have nothing to help draw back your memory. But if that is you, this method should also help you just recall back everything, and not by everything, but just help recall back the things that you have done this year to help you put it all in one space. So this will also help all of my unschooler friends who haven't written anything down, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But maybe you just want to have something to say, this is what we did in 2021. So even if you can't remember it, how do you record it? I mean, it seems like it would be something that I feel like I would say, if I can't remember it, how do I record it? But I've created a flow chart of sorts to help you remember in 3 simple steps. So the number one thing to help you in this whole process to start is understanding your purpose. So why are you sitting down and putting pen to paper or typing out what you have done this year? Is it to report for your reporting process? Are you about to have to tell your state department what you have done this year? Or is it just to close off the year? And I think understanding why you're doing it will really help you break down the process, because if you are reporting, then you will be able to follow a different line than if you are closing off your year. And it kind of ends up being 2 separate ways about like what the end process will look like. And I suppose you'll be able to use the same method again at whatever point in time that your reporting process happens. So it doesn't matter if it's at the end of the year, or for me, I have to start reporting again in March. So I'll do this again in March. So knowing your purpose is step number 1. Step number 2 is starting to think about the details. So if you are doing this because you want to report, then you need to know your state's requirements. And knowing your state requirements will then help you break down exactly what you need to remember. So every state is different. If you're new to homeschooling, it's on YouTube, previous video talks about the different states. Actually, that's not a YouTube, sorry, that's on my website, a written document that will give you clickable links to be able to go to every state in Australia and how you sit there and report. So knowing your state's requirements will then help you break down exactly what you need to write down at this point in time. And I think it's a really good point to remember here that, you don't need to write absolutely everything that you have done this year. You don't need to be telling in your process absolutely every little thing. I think taking that pressure off yourself will just alleviate some stress about, the fact that you haven't maybe written everything down, or you don't have all of the information or all of the documents or all of the proof. Just sort of letting that go and just realizing, okay, what is it that I actually need to give them? And then just providing that. If it is that you are doing this process to just, I accidentally put the wrong thing here. So if it is that you are wanting to just close off your year, then the thing that you should be focusing on is understanding how much detail you want to go in. So for some unschoolers, if you're just wanting it to for yourself, or just to know exactly what you've done, then, you won't have to write as much detail. Or if you're wanting to have everything down, understanding how much detail will really help you in this process as well. Because we don't, again, like I was saying before, we don't have to write absolutely everything down to remind ourselves of what we've done or provide proof of what we have done. So step 3 is to just collect and collate. So it doesn't matter what your reason is, you've got to collect and collate all of your information. So go through your house. And I think this is where it would take, that's that second hour, really, or that first hour, really, in finding all of the paperwork, all of those little things that you can find. Again, you don't have to do it all, but as much as you can for each of your children, or finding your resource books that you have bought at the beginning of the year, or maybe going through your emails and finding if you have subscribed to Twinkle or subscribed to Reading Eggs, or any of those online-based programs. And then bringing all of that to the table and just sit at the table and start sorting everything into, again, it'll depend on the reasons why. So if you're reporting, you'll want to sort it into subjects that you are working on. Or if you're just doing it for the information, then you'll just need to just sort it according to what makes sense to your purpose. And then that's when you've collated it all. And then you're just going to write it down as to what you've learned. And again, that's going to come back to your purpose as to why you're recording down what you have learned and keeping it as simple as possible. So whether or not you're using the planner you bought at the beginning of the year, whether you're using a Word document, whether you're using pen and paper, just a blank pen and paper, or if you need something that's a little bit more structured, free on my website, I have an end of the year, I guess, sort of planner, but it really is an end of year recording planner. So it's an after the fact planner. It's 24 pages. Now, this isn't to sell this to you. It's completely free, but this will give you some prompts to be able to help you really just break down the task into smaller and smaller and smaller bits, and keeping it as simple as possible. Because I think we put so much pressure on ourselves to write it all down or remember it all, but realistically, we don't need to do all of that. So that's free on my website. It's also a link in my Instagram, but it really doesn't matter. Once you have all of the resources on the table and you can see what it is you've done, memories will start coming up as to what you've done. Maybe go through your Instagram account and find where you've been this year. Have you gone on excursions? Have you gone to the beach? And you can pull up those memories and go, oh, well, we went to the beach and I can remember this part of that experience, and just write it down. And this whole process should really take you 2 hours. If you've got no distractions, if your kids are in bed, or someone's got your kids, or you've taken them to a play center or something like that, where you can spend no more than 2 hours and just pinpoint focus on this task, I really don't see why it should take longer than that, because you're not trying to, the purpose is not to write everything down from the last 340 odd days. The process and purpose is to just write down the main points of what happened according to what your ultimate purpose is. And I think too, it's a good reminder for next year, for that time when you're not recording everything that you're doing. It might be a nice prompt for you to be like, oh, I don't have to write everything down that's happened this week. Maybe I'll just write down one thing, or maybe I'll just take photos this year. And so being able to just be mindful of how this process made you feel, and being mindful and self-aware to help you in your next year as you go through your year. Being super kind on yourself, because it doesn't matter if you don't plan throughout the year. It doesn't matter if you don't record throughout the year. We have got lots of different methods of remembering what we have done throughout the year, and our ultimate purpose as to why we record, is all different depending on our homeschooling philosophy. So for me, I plan and record mainly for keeping and holding memories. So for me, for the last 3 or 4 planners that I've made, the real purpose for myself is to just sit there and remember all those moments with my children, and remember the interactions between us, what I could see from them and things like that in those moments. And so I don't do that every day. I don't even do that every week. There are weeks that I will do it every day, and then I won't do it again for a week or 2. And then I'll do it again for a week or 2. And it's very much for me and what works for me. And I think understanding and giving ourselves some space and breathing room to learn what works for ourselves and how we can manage the workload so that we can end the year with emptying our minds, because I think our brains as homeschooling mums are so full all the time. We are thinking about so many things on so many levels. And I think being able to finish your year, even if you're like me and you continue to school, just to close the books on that year and close the planner, or understand that, okay, yep, cool, this is what happened this year, can take a lot of weight off your shoulder, because okay, all that knowledge and trying to remember and all of that mental load is now closed, and it's put on the shelf, ready for you to look at any time if you need to or want to, and you can pull that knowledge down, and you don't have to carry it around with you all the time. I'm huge on making our mental load as light as possible, because we have such a high mental load. So remember, this is your homeschool life. You do not have to record everything, nor do you have to keep everything. So once you are done collating it all and putting it in your planner, on the Word document, in whatever way you have done it, however you have finished, all of the paperwork or the booklets and everything that's left over, you only need to keep that which brings you joy or happiness, or if you're a little bit of a hoarder like me and just want to keep some of the memories, I only keep a couple that really bring me joy, and or what you need for reporting. So if you need to provide proof, then only keep those things. Everything else, and if you're like a lot of homeschoolers, the pile will be pretty big. Give yourself permission and freedom and no guilt to throw it away. We don't need to keep absolutely everything year on in, because it just becomes too much, and it goes back to easing our mental load and being able to start 2022 much lighter, much lighter. And I'm really excited. I always get to this point in the year where I'm like, I can't wait for next year to just start afresh. I love starting fresh. And so, being able to do that is really important to me. And I can imagine it would be important to a lot of homeschool mums. So now that we've kind of been through this understanding of how we can pull back the memories and collate all of the information and write down only which we need, nothing else, and taking the pressure off of trying to make sure we remember everything. After all of that, you deserve a massive mental break. Really, truly give yourself that space. So I want to encourage you that before you get started on this, because this is a task that you may feel you need to get done and you need to do, but you're probably going to want to put it off. You're probably going to be like, I don't want to do this. It's not the most fun task. It's not the most prettiest task. And if you're not really an organizational geek like I am, who just loves it and thrives in this space, then, it's going to be just so easy to just be like, I'll do it tomorrow. I'll do it tomorrow. But if we can go into that space and be like, okay, after this 2 hours, I'm going to give myself 2 hours, going to get it done. Then I'm going to do what? What are you going to do afterwards to just celebrate the fact that you have finished your homeschool year, you have written down or recorded in some way, depending on your method, exactly what you need to do. And now you can just close the books and enjoy the holiday period, whether that's the December, January holiday period, or whether you've taken some time off after your reporting before, you start school again. I don't know what I'm going to do next March when I have to do my report, if I will take a little bit of a break and close my books, so to speak. I'm not sure. I think at this point, I've done it a couple of different ways throughout the year, throughout the last 11 years. I've done a mixture, and I think that's definitely okay and something to think about and know what's right for you in that time. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do in 2022, whether I will take a break after March or not, but I know one thing's for sure: I'm taking a break in December. I think it's really important for me that I go on break, and so that's what I'm going to do. I will be closing my homeschool books the last week of the traditional term, which I have never followed ever, but I am this term following the term, and I'm going to go on breaks from, I think it's the 8th of December. Don't quote me on that, but I think it's around the 8th or the 10th of December. And that's when I'm going to be closing off my homeschool books. And even though we will be homeschooling throughout December, and even though my planner that I'm currently using will take me all the way to the end, and even though I will probably write it all down, especially because of the time of the year, and I like to collect memories. I'm a bit of a memory collector. So all of that will be written down. But for me, that pressure or that stress of knowing that I've got open books is just closed. And now all that we're learning is it's just there. It's there for me to remember and recall back when I'm ready, if I want to, and when I want to. And I don't necessarily have to include it, although because I'm in March, I might include it in my year plan, but it just gives me that space and time to just empty my mind, reduce my mental load, and be able to go into 2022 feeling refreshed and ready to conquer this year. So like I was saying, I have made a printable because I realize not everyone is able to make this live. And I would like to make sure you can see it. And it's just a simple document with just these three, just to sort of help you remember your purpose, remember how to think about the details. So, and then remember that you just need to collect and collate it, just keeping it as simple as possible. So if you have, I know there's only one other person in here, which I'm so honored that you're here. So if you have any questions or you would like to comment, feel free to take your mic off or send a text in the text box, and I will answer any questions and help you. Or if there is none, then I will say goodbye off of here. But if I can help you, I would absolutely love to. All right. Well, so that the recording doesn't keep lagging on. I really appreciate whether you're watching this live or not, for coming on here and watching this. I hope it helps. And if you feel like you have forgotten everything or you want more details and it's, coming closer to December, feel free to reach out to me. I'm an email away. My email is a button in my profile. I'm a DM away on Instagram. I'm here to help you in any way that I can. This is sort of my jam. This is what I absolutely love doing, talking. I'm a bit of a planner geek, and I love it. And I love because it reduces my mental load. So if I can pass that on to anyone, I love doing that as well. So I really appreciate you watching and coming along, and reach out if you have anything that I can help you with. All right. Well, you have a great night and take care. All the best.